So this is Bear. Say hi, Bear. We found Bear, I don't know, 12 years ago? How old are you, Bear? We don't even know. He just walked into our garage one day. We think it was 12 years ago. And he stayed. And as you can see, he's getting old and gray. And a few days ago, or I guess it was a couple weeks ago, he tried to jump on our bed, my wife and I's bed. And it's kind of high up off the ground. And he didn't make it and he fell and he hurt his leg and he couldn't put weight on it for a while, and so uh, we were a little worried about how old he's getting and his ability to jump. So we decided that we're going to make him a little ramp because he likes sleeping with us. In fact, so he's in here sleeping on my son's bed right now because he just can't get up in our bed like he used to where he used to sleep. So we're going to make him a little ramp and hopefully increase his comfort and lifespan so he's not hurting himself. Yeah, because he just likes to sleep. So we're going to make a little ramp. So here is the parts list. We have two 6-foot 1x4s, two 6-foot 1x3s, one 36-inch by 12-inch long glue up plank. Uh, it's paint grade, which means it's a little cheaper because it's got nicks, it's got knots, it might have some delamination where the boards were glued together. Um, but it's not going to be seen, so I saved a couple dollars there. You can get stain grade, which is nicer if you want to stain the walking surface where your pets will go up. But we're going to cover ours, so I didn't go that route. You can use anything for this: plywood, MDF, particle board, fiber board. Uh, Depending on what your application is, how heavy your dog is, whether or not you're going to have kids sitting on it or rolling down it, how strong it needs to be. There's a chance. I don't think any of my kids are going to get on it, but I wanted it to be sturdy, so I went with solid wood, even though it is glued together. We have our spindles. These are going to be the legs that fold at the front that create that height. And you can use anything for this. One by material, you could use a piece of PVC if you wanted to, but I figure this will give it a little nicer look. A couple hinges to allow the ramp to go up and down. And the most expensive thing of the whole deal were these stair treads. This is going to be what covers the walking surface. It's the perfect length. I was actually looking for like a doormat that I was going to cut to size. And when I was looking for a doormat, I saw this and I thought this is a really good option. It's, like I said, it's the right width, it's the right length. It comes with two and it looks good, and it's going to give the dog a nice soft but good traction material. So that's that. I spent $60.91. You probably can't see that, but that's my receipt from this morning. So that's everything. Other than like paint and screws, and if you don't have that stuff, I mean, it's cheap enough. You could put all this together with nails and duct tape if you wanted to. So we'll get started. All right, so we need to determine the height because ultimately that's how you kind of define how tall you make it. And it should match up to whatever it is they're trying to get up onto. Our bed height is about 22 inches or so, so that's what I wanted to make the legs. So I go to the spindles with my height, I mark it, I cut it, and because spindles are, well, spindly, I needed to reinforce it at the top, so I got a little piece of 1 by material, I glued it, clamped it, and nailed it. So we'll let that set aside and dry for a while. Next up is the walkway section. Now there's a lot of ways to do this. You could glue and screw it as it is and just sandwich that walkway between your side pieces, but I wanted to reinforce a little bit, and so to do that I wanted to make a dado cut. So I'm finding the center and I'm marking with a pencil, and then I will take that to the table saw. A dado cut is basically just a relief cut that allows the walkway to slide into the side pieces. It's just a big long notch, more or less. And there's a lot of ways to do this. Table saw being the easiest. In fact, they make a dado blade for table saws, which is kind of just a big, thick stack of saw blades that can cut a real thick notch or dado cut. If you don't have one of those blades, you can just make multiple passes with the table saw. You can do the same thing with a circular saw. You can do it by hand using a chisel. I'm sure there's other ways to do it as well, but this is pretty much the easiest way. So what you'll end up doing is you'll make your first run. Make sure to use your push sticks because underneath that wood is a life-changing experience should your finger touch it. So use your push sticks. I like the first pass. Now I'm going to flip it over and do it again. And the difference between the passes should equal the thickness of your walkway. And once you get that all pushed through and get a thickness that you're happy with, then you'll leave the fence in place and then you'll do it on your other sections. You don't want to move the fence until you've kind of outlined your dado for all the pieces that you need to cut. And generally it'll be a few. So you can see here, hold it up to your piece, make sure the thickness is good. If you're happy with it, carry on. So that looks pretty good. I had to adjust it a couple times to get it just right. You want a nice snug fit. So then you'll run everything through, and then once you get them all set up on the thickness, then you bump the fence over so that you can start making your interior passes, which is just a bunch of additional grooves. I think I ended up making 5 cuts for this, and it was only like a 3/4 inch dado, so you don't need to make a whole lot. You don't have to remove all the material. You just need to remove most of the material. What you're looking for is just enough cuts to where what you're left with is, kind of like this, where you can just get your chisel or hammer or whatever and just pop out the rest of the material, which is what you're seeing here. And I couldn't find my small chisel. This goes really quick if you have a small enough chisel to fit the dado width, because then you can kind of just run it down it and get a real nice clean finish. I had a chisel that was just slightly bigger, so I kind of had to monkey with it a bit, but it's simple enough and that wood pops out pretty easily, so no complaints there. It just takes a few minutes. And this is what you're left with. Nice little test fit. Do not glue anything until you've test fit it. Um, and yeah, that all works. So now I'm taking a measurement because I need to get the final width of the walkway, and you can't do that until you have your dados complete, um, because you have to take that width into account for your overall width. So with the dado width and the stair tread um, factored in, we now know what our overall width for the walkway is. We'll run that through the table saw, which takes just a few minutes. This is real speed, not sped up, just in case you thought I was going fast, which I'm not. There we go. And that's it. So test fit one more time. If you like what you see, then you go to glue, which is what I'm doing next. It's really kind of just like an I-beam, more or less. That's what you're making out of wood. And pretty simple if you think about it like that. So here comes the glue. Smear it on there. Tap it back on with a hammer. Run some nails in. And that's pretty much the most time consuming part of the whole deal. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Happy with that. Now you notice on this end, I mitered my runners. When you do that, you need to make sure you leave enough of the walkway to fit into your end cap dado piece thing. This was kind of a little bit of a pain in the butt because you need to get it just right because you're dealing with two mitered corners, which can always be finicky if you don't have a square cut. In addition to a dado, so take your time, take some measurements, makes make a few cuts if you need to. What's the expression? Measure once, cut 4 times. I am the best at that. And then you'll eventually get it right, at least close enough. There's always sand and paint. And once you get that done, now you can work on the framework that's on the ground, basically the kind of what everything hinges off of. So you can see here, this is what I'm going for. Just a 1x frame that the walkway will fit into.
some glue, and I didn't miter these corners. I was running out of time. Be careful. Never put your thumb or fingers anywhere where a nail can come out of. You notice I kind of back my fingers off. And once you do that, you kind of fit it over, and once you know that's looking pretty good. Good place to set the hinges. One side of the hinge will be on the frame. One side of the hinge will be on the walkway. That will give it that movement up and down. Now I'm just doing some pilot holes. I am pretty close to the end of the wood here, so you always want to do pilot holes, especially on thinner material that you're going to be screwing into. Start your screws. I even put a little dab of glue on them just to hold them extra tight. And I had to kind of flip it up to get the screws on the underside. Same process, pilot holes, a little bit of glue, run the screws in. Don't put glue on them until you know that that's where you want it. I measured a few times here for once and knew that's where I wanted it. And once she's hinged up, this is what you're looking for. Now we just need to put hinges on the spindle portion, the leg portion. And I'm creating a little bit of a leg rest here. So see, I'm drilling holes. I don't want those legs to be able to move once it's in the upright position. So I put holes in the base. That way, that kind of locks them into place. That'll add some security, or not really security, stability, and some rigidity to it. And that way, it doesn't fall while the dog is trying to go up it or down it. Same process, pilot holes and screws. And this is pretty much it. So legs, ramp folds up, legs fold out, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Slide it under your bed if you don't need it, but for the most part, it'll probably stay up. And, celebrating with a nice cold snack. I absolutely detest painting.
So this is it. This is the finished product. The legs fold in. It collapses real nice. If you need to put it under the bed. But Bear hates it. He won't use it. He won't go near it. He would rather sleep on the floor. So, not a complete waste, I guess. I could use this for tons of other things, like firewood. So, I think what we're going to have to do is make steps. So I think maybe we'll do just like a little miniature staircase instead. So maybe this will help you. Maybe your dogs aren't weird and don't like ramps. Or maybe they're like mine and would prefer steps. So we're going to try steps next. Good luck on your build and good luck on your dog.